Welcome to our podcast all about the university application process. Today we're going to be talking about everything there is to know about UCAS, personal statement and what to do after the UCAS deadline. So today we've got a fantastic panel with us today to discuss all of these things. We've got Elliott and Tilly. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Elliott.
Yeah, so my name's Elliott and I'm from the school and college liaison team at the university. Fun fact, I actually studied at NTU.
Amazing. Tilly, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Tilly. I'm a final year psychology student. I just came back from doing a placement year and I sent off my master's application last week. So I think I'm up to date with
very up to date with
applications
it.
and
So we've
statements.
got two very knowledgeable people to talk about the application process, and then you've got me. So let's kick it off. The university application process. What is there to know? Elliott, what is the main things to know about the university application process? What sites do they need to use? Where do they need to start? Hit us with the info.
So usually if you're in maybe year 13, you will have already applied or signed up to that UCAS hub. It's basically a website that allows you to be able to, one, search for courses and also apply for the courses and then accept if you're able to get onto the course, which is really cool. So that's the main thing that you're going to need to know is that UCAS, that's the place you're going to be to sign up and apply for different universities. And it also gives you notifications in terms of when you've maybe sent off your application, it will notify you as to if the universities have got back to you.
Is there any key dates that people need to know? What would you say, Elliott, that people need to keep in mind of?
The key date you're going to need to know is it's 31st of January currently, but sometime around the end of January is when that deadline is going to be. So just remember that end of January is when the deadline is. But usually what happens is that if you're at sixth form or college, they will have their own kind of deadline for when they want that in.
Yes, it's usually the end of like the first term, isn't it?
Ours was November, so I had to have mine finished by like the 10th of November. And but you've got to think like everybody's going to like the same sixth form, like a leader or like the same teacher to try and get it approved and for them to give you like the reference, I think it is, isn't it, to get it sent off. So ours was like have it done by November, like definitely start thinking about it like early on in the school year because you've got everything else going on. You've got to be revising for like mock exams or your actual exams. So like the quicker you get it just over and done with. That's why I finished my master's statement in September. Even though I could apply up until the following year, I was like, I just want to get it out of the way because you've got everything else you need to focus on. It's your final year of sixth form. So yeah, just get it finished, then you can get it sent off and just wait to hear back from your unis.
When you go onto the UCAS hub, there's going to be a couple of things that you're going to need to fill out. So there's your personal information, for example. So what your name is. We want to know what your name is if you're coming to us as a university. Your predicted grades will be in there. The personal statement will be in there as well. That we'll move on to shortly.
The big daddy of the application process.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we chills. We're all in anticipation, ready to talk about the personal statement.
And then also, what's really important is any disclosures. So in terms of if you have any maybe disabilities that you have, it's always good to put that into the UCAS hub. And I know that sometimes whenever somebody hears, oh, they want to know if I've got any disabilities, there's the stigma around it in terms of, oh, that means that maybe I'm less likely to get an offer, where it's completely not the case. So I kind of want to burst that bubble really quick because it's actually really, really helpful to let us know, let universities know what things you maybe struggle with and things that you need so that we can put things in place.
I actually got my special educational need like diagnosed in sixth form with dyslexia, and I put that on my UCAS application not really thinking like I got extra time and I was like, yeah, I just get extra time, but I didn't really know like the ins and outs of the impact of my dyslexia because I only recently got like that diagnosis. And then coming to university, I found out that I actually have slow processing, which is an aspect of dyslexia. And I just get so much more help and assistance with like student support needs and things like that. Like you definitely, like you need to put it down there because then the uni know, and like you don't have to reach out to the uni, they'll reach out to you. Like when you're there, I get emails all the time being like, oh, you can join us for this event, you can join us for that event. And it does make you feel like a lot more aware as well, like how it can impact like your education and things like that. And it just makes you feel like, okay, like it's okay that you have this, it's okay, like, you know, whatever you've got going on, like the uni are there to help you. They're not there to be like, okay, you're on your own now, like you can do it by yourself. Like, they definitely help you. I get extra time with my exams. If I need any other help, I know where I can go to find it. And it just allows me to just give myself the time as well to just process everything that's going on as well. Like, it just allows me to just be in my own and just deal with it.
It's like one less thing to worry about, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you've got that extra
definitely.
time, just allow you to
Just
to breathe
process
and to do
everything.
that. Yeah.
And the thing is that if you hadn't actually put that in there, we wouldn't have known until, and it would have been, maybe you still would have been able to get that, but it would have been a much longer process.
Yeah, I would have had to, like, I just couldn't imagine being in first year, moving to a new city, and then trying to find out where I would get the help for my dyslexia. I was just so lucky that the university just handed me that information. My first exam, they was like, okay, you've got this 25% extra time. This is the link that you tap on, or this is the room that you go to. I didn't even have to work that out myself. The university just did all of that for me, and I just couldn't imagine, like, not having that there. Like, it's been such a huge help.
I got diagnosed with that dyslexia in my final year, and the difference between the final year support and the first year support just for my own help was completely, like, groundbreaking. Like, it really
It's
does
incredible
make a huge,
how much
huge
help you
difference.
get.
Yeah, so if there's anything in your mind that thinks, oh no, it's fine, like, I don't need that extra time, like, take it, because it's there to help you. And there is absolutely zero stigma at all. In fact, a lot of my final year friends were very jealous that I had an extra 2 weeks to finish my dissertation.
I would be.
I think it's there to help. Pop everything that you want to disclose on the application, and it's there before you even come here, which is really helpful.
So we've talked about putting your choices down as well. So 5 choices you have for university. So not 6, not 7, not 10, 5 choices. I know you probably would have visited more than 5 universities at open days and things like that, but it's only 5 that you can put down. And then, you're putting in if you've got any work experience. That can be really helpful with some courses where work experience is required. So I know some of our veterinary courses at NTU, they require you to have work experience. So it's good to put that down there as well. And then you'll have to pay to obviously send off the application. It's a small fee, and then it gets sent off, and then that's it. You're waiting to hear back from the universities, which is can be stressful, but it can also be really cool when you get that notification to say, hey, we've offered you a place.
So, personal statements. Elliott.
Yes.
What do you think makes a really strong personal statement?
What I think makes a strong statement is if you've included in your statement certain skills that you have, and you've not only put those down, but you've got examples of when you've used those skills. Because at university, there's going to be a number of skills that we're wanting you to have. So in terms of organizational skills, in terms of, are you going to be able to make your lectures on time? Are you going to know where they are, etc.? Moving on to team working, there will be, I know for my course, there was a period where I had to do like a group project, and then would have to present that in front of the rest of our lecturers. So have you got good team working skills? Can you meet deadlines? Big one. You're going to get deadlines at university. Can you meet those deadlines? So if you've got examples of those, that would be great. Put those into your statement. And I always say it doesn't necessarily have to be examples of in education. It can be outside as well. So in terms of maybe team working, lots of people have part-time jobs. And with that comes loads of skills. So communication skills, team working skills, using your initiative as well. Those are things that as a university we would want to see. So if you've got examples of those, great. Put those into your statement. But it's all about talking positively about ourselves, which can be a difficult thing to do. And I think that's you're not alone. If you're thinking I can't think positive about myself, you're probably not alone. I think most humans, we struggle to kind of think positively about ourselves. But for personal statements, you're gonna need to think.
Get that brag out.
Yeah, you got to big yourself up. That's what I always say.
Anything small as well, you can definitely like word it in a way that does make it sound like really important. I know, like, talking about being in like teamwork and stuff like that, even just saying like me and my team, or I and my team, just like putting yourself first, even though it was a group effort, and good job for all of your team, but you're trying to put your best self forward. So even just using like simple things, like I did that in my master's statement. I said, in my class or me and my other like things, and there was like, no, you need to say I in this. Like, you was the one that did it as well. Yeah. You contributed just as much, so you just need to like emphasize like your part in like doing things as well.
And I think like with your personal statement, this will probably be a lot of the students' sort of first opportunity in life where they will be doing something sort of skills, but writing about something skills based that has kind of more of a professional feel to it.
Yeah.
Because your personal statement doesn't stop. You will be writing what skills you've done in what project for the rest of your like professional career.
100%.
In every interview now, you're sort of pulling out that same sort of format. So this is just great practice.
It's like a good basis to build on it as well.
The earlier you start getting used to bragging about the things that you've accomplished, then job well done.
Yeah, that's what I always say to when I maybe do workshops on personal statements. There may be some people there like, I'm not even thinking about going to university, but I'm like, hey, personal statements are basically cover letters that you're gonna need to write for jobs and things like that. So yeah, personal statements are gonna be really important for university. And it's important to know that the person who's kind of reading your statement, they don't actually know who you are in terms of they don't have any fun experiences with you. They don't know, oh, you managed to persevere through this or do that. They don't know anything about you. All they've got is your name, where you're from, and that personal statement. And I always say this, when I applied for history, let's say there was about maybe between 150 to 200 people maybe on the course. It wasn't just 200 people applying for that course. Could have been 300, 400, 500 people. And the only thing that could separate myself from somebody else could be that personal statement, because we could have the same predicted grades, we could come from the same maybe region. That personal statement can be so key in actually getting you onto that course.
The main thing I would say that from taking what you said, Elliott, is like be specific. You know, instead of just being like, in my part-time job, I speak to customers because so I have good communication. Like that could be applied to anybody that has a part-time job. Like, you know, what makes it different for your specific role? How intense is it? How often are you doing it? You know, really kind of pull out those small details that can really help your application stand out.
My little sister, she's doing hers now and she wants to do biochemistry, and then for her she needs to have like lab skills. So I was like, when have you had lab skills at school? And she was like, well, I go into the science classroom. I was like, that's a lab. So we like use that to like say that she's got lab skills using a microscope or whatever else that she has to do. So like actually looking at what does that job in the future require you to have is the skills that you're also going to be learning at university, and kind of like merging the grad skills, merging the actual university course can actually help give you some like good pointers into what you need to write in your like application.
So one of the questions we get asked a lot is, what if you want to apply for similar courses, but obviously you could only have one personal statement? So what advice would you give to make that personal statement be holistic for kind of both of those courses? I know some people, we get asked that question all the time. So what advice would you give, Elliott?
Usually what we kind of use, we like to go with this phrase, using the ABC method. It basically stands for activity, benefit, and course.
Ooh, okay.
So how you write your statement would be an activity. So let's take me, for example, an activity that I did at secondary school. I would help out in we call them active worships, but they're basically assemblies, where you speak in front of maybe your year group or the whole school. So that was my activity. Then I move on to the benefit. So what skill did I get out of that? So for me, that helped to develop my public speaking skills, communication skills. And then C stands for course. So how do you link it back into the course? So I would say, well, I've done some research into the NTU history course to find out what's going to be happening. And I know that part of it is going to be some group work where we're going to have to do some presenting. And I have those skills to be able to deliver on that. So that's kind of how you would word your statement. Yeah.
I definitely think pulling on the skills as well, of like wanting to do two courses. If that was me, I would bring up like both courses on like the university page and like literally go through and find the similarities in those courses. So there are course overviews, there's like content overviews. Like a key thing I think that is across, I think quite a lot of courses is like developing your university skills. I know ours is called like analytical skills or like professional development. So I feel like that's a common, quite like a lot of like loads of courses. So looking at what does that actually look like? What do you have to do at university? What skills is that teaching you? And have you already got a basis for those skills? So like academic writing or like reading something or like critically thinking, like have you had to, I don't know, problem solving this thing or problem solving that thing. So like trying to find the similarities and like narrowing them down to like a point, and then you can like, you know, go onto your ABC and feel like just trying to find what exactly is the similarities.
Yeah. Personal statement icks. I want to hear them. Elliott, what is your personal statement icks? There's people out there thinking, what do I include, not do I not include?
Yeah.
This is our personal icks of personal statements.
Okay, I've got 2 icks. Am I allowed to say 2
You
icks?
can have as many icks as you want. This is
Okay.
we are not
icks out
restrictive
here.
on
Not
icks.
restrictive icks.
Yeah.
I like it. So my first ick is people using bold statements in terms of saying, this is a wild example, but saying, accepting me onto this course will be the single greatest decision this university has ever made.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That is very strong.
Yeah.
Very strong.
That is very strong.
I think people write these personal statements and forget that a lot of people are going to read them.
Exactly. Yeah.
You probably thought, no one's ever going to read this. I can say what I want. Oh, no.
We will. We will. So yeah, saying bold statements like that. And then another one, which this is more likely that people will say, is that from when I was maybe 1 year old or from when I was a little baby, I knew that I wanted to be a doctor, or I knew that I wanted to be a psychologist. In my head, I'm thinking, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was like maybe 7 or 8, and even then that's changed now. So
I think I wanted to be a mermaid when I was 7, so I was glad. And
Love
they
that.
don't do a university course in mermaidism.
kind of wish they did that now. That you
Sadly,
said that.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's a fault. I'll
Yeah.
have to look into it.
So my second ick, what was it? Oh yeah, was putting quotes into, well, not necessarily putting quotes in, but putting loads of quotes that don't really relate to what you're talking
And
about.
I think just also think about how you got that quote. If you Google top 10 quotes to put in your personal statement, I probably wouldn't use one of them ones because some other people are probably going to use
Facts,
it.
yeah.
I know you were saying the general quote that you had in yours.
Yeah, so when I was writing mine, I Googled, well, what you just said, top 10 quotes on history or people in history. And I saw a cool Martin Luther King quote. And I thought, this sounds really cool. This is going to really add the seasoning, you know, the salt, like Salt Bay, the spice, onto my personal statement. And then it got stricken off by my tutor. And yeah, it was kind of hurtful, humbling experience, really. But when I actually look back now, I'm thinking, Elliott, this had no relation to what I was actually talking about. I just put it in there for
Just
like,
to take up some space.
yeah, to take up the
Filler.
word count, to take, yeah,
Fluff.
yeah, the fluff. I love that. Yeah, to add a bit of fluff to the statement, but the fluff wasn't good.
Tilly, what gives you the ick about your personal statement now, or other personal statements that you've seen?
So definitely in my A-level personal statement, I wrote about the fact that I did ballet and like all the amazing things that ballet did. And I spoke about it in the present tense, like I was still dancing and I'd actually quit like 2 years before. So I'm just going to say, I didn't have to do an interview. Thank goodness I didn't have to do an interview, because if they asked me about dance, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, when I did that then. But so yeah, just be honest about any experiences you've had. Yeah, you did that and it was great experience and it gave me all of the things that I could write about, but I should have just spoken about it in the past tense. Like, I really don't think it would have made that much of an impact if I was still dancing or not, so.
Be authentic. I think be authentic self. I mean, the idea of your personal statement is to also see if you're the right fit for the course. So let's say you talk about how you love going to museums at the weekend, maybe for like a history course, but you don't and you've never been to one, and then your course is 80% going to museums, it means that you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as you think. So it's really important to be your authentic self, to see if you're the right fit for the course, and just basically explore yourself a little bit more. But like you say,
Be honest.
be honest. So anything else about the University of Application, Elliott?
Yeah, so I mentioned about the end of January for the applications, but there is also another deadline which is earlier on, which is usually in the October period, and that is for when you're applying to maybe Oxford, Cambridge, or maybe you're going down a veterinary science route or medicine route. That deadline is in October.
I think as well with that kind of first year of year 13, is when a lot of people are going to the open days, and you know, you're really trying to find out the best university for you, and some of the open days can lead up until the deadline. So it's about giving yourself that time to fully make that decision. So there's so many universities across the UK, and how would you give the advice of people looking at all those choices to then define what's going to go into those 5? applications, looking at just the university side of it rather than the course, if someone's unsure, what advice would you two give them to help narrow that down?
My little sister recently went to an open day as well, and she actually asked me to go with her. And it just kind of made me feel like you're in those like welcome talks, and they're talking about the course and the grades that they want. And so many people were asking, well, how many numbers do you let in? How many progress onto a placement year? How many go on to do this after uni? And it kind of like, you do want to look into the future, but also just think about the now. Like, think about how you feel about walking around at uni. You don't need to worry about, because, you know, you might not get in, you might get in. So just think about how you feel in that moment, walking around the uni, going around the classes. Like, my little sister was obsessed with the labs that they had there, and she was comparing it to this type of lab at one uni and the lab at the other uni. By the way, NTU Clifton was her favourite. So just definitely like think about how you actually like imagine yourself walking around the campus, imagine yourself going to and from your classes, living in that accommodation, because that is how like you're gonna see and like find out which uni like best fits you. So like just imagine like actually being there as a student, because that's like your like easiest way of knowing if that's the uni for you or not.
100%. Like, I think people, when they're looking at universities, just the vibe is such a big teller, and that's so strange. But most people that I've spoken to when I had my time at NTU was like, I just really enjoyed the feel of the campus. Like, everybody was really nice. I could really see myself there, and it's such an underrated aspect of kind of how people first think they're going to look at universities, and it can just literally be how you feel at the open day, like you say.
It is like you could go to a uni and it could be like a really top uni, like the best grad prospects, but if you go there and you don't feel comfortable, like you're going to spend 3-4 years there, so you really want to make sure it's going to be like a second home to you, because you spend more time at uni than you actually do at your actual house. And I only live an hour away from uni, and I spend all my time here compared to actually being at home. So you really need to think about, is that like you're going to be your second home? So
yeah,
definitely.
And I love what you said as well about how your sister was comparing, which it's not a bad thing to compare different facilities or like the city. Like, do you like a city type of vibe, or are you thinking you want it to be more quiet type vibe? So it's always good to compare, because like you said, it is 3 years of your life that you're going to be spending there. I would say it's really important to know how the university feels in terms of when you graduate. Are there things in place that helps you to get maybe a graduate job? Because that's what university is essentially. You're going to university so that you can then apply for a certain level of job. So I know at NTU, for example, we have the graduate promise, which is really cool. I think looking at things like that, maybe looking at their website, seeing what types of jobs people have gone on to do once they've graduated, and also placements as well, for me, are quite a big thing. Yeah, do you want to talk about placements?
Yeah, so as a psychology student, it's pretty much well known as a psychology grad, you're going to struggle to get a job in psychology without doing a master's, without doing a doctorate. Like, it is a very competitive field. So to be offered a placement year as part, so I actually applied to do my placement year through UCAS. And I chose to do that because some universities, you have to get like a first or a 2-1 after first year, and then you're completely on your own as well to find a placement year. Whereas at Trent, my placement year was offered to me as part of my UCAS application. So I already knew as soon as I got my A-level results, I was doing a placement year regardless of what happened in first year, second year. I knew that year 3, I was going to be doing a placement year. And then Nottingham Trent also has a website called In Place, and it basically has all the placements for any course. So even if I decided to do something not even psychology related and go to marketing, I could have applied for a marketing placement if I felt like it. And it had every single placement that every company was offering on there. And I ended up doing my placement as an SEN teacher in a therapy-based school in Surrey. So I moved away to Surrey for a year, which is miles away from Nottingham.
Just a little bit.
It's really far, but yeah, like just doing a placement year. Now doing my master's application, thinking about like grad schemes and things like that. A lot of the times they actually ask for a year of work experience before you're actually applying to, which actually nobody ever talks about really, is to do a master's and often to do grad schemes to actually stand out. They want a year of experience, like whilst you finish your degree, like, and that I feel like that's where like you're gonna almost like step up above like your other course mates, is doing that placement year, getting that work experience. Even if you do like a summer internship. So like over the summer, I've worked as support workers, I've worked as like play workers and things like that, because I want to be an educational psychologist. So it's anything education based for me. So even just doing like a 6-week summer internship, whether it's paid or unpaid, can really just step you like above. And the university do have like pages that can help you with that. So definitely ask those on your open days, or even just like email the uni to find out what they actually offer to you during and after uni, because like you don't want to finish uni and be unemployable,
It's a stepping stone for the rest of your life, isn't it? Like 100%. It's all about making those memories, being independent, you know, getting that experience that you want. I think my advice would be, what kind of university experience do you want outside of your lectures? So one of my big things is I really wanted to live in a city, because I come from a village of 900 people. My student accommodation had more people than my village.
Same.
So I knew I wanted to go in like the heart of the city. So when I was looking around, I was like, okay, great, I want a city campus kind of base. I want something where I can live and walk into town, and that really helped narrow down the kind of universities to choose from. I think if you're doing a course that's quite a general course, for example, like business management, you could go to any university, pretty much any university, to study that. And there may be some that have a lot more qualifications, or they might give you a lot more, in terms of the core stuff. But I think really narrowing down that big holistic idea of what university vibe you want can help direct you in the right frame for it. So that would be my advice when it comes to picking universities.
And I think maybe the distance as well is something. So for me, well, this is funny because I'm born in Nottingham. I'm born and bred in Nottingham, but I still decided to come to NTU, but I still moved out. But I know some people who were of the mind of they want to move city, but they don't want to go so far away that it's long to kind of get back home. So that's another thing you want to kind of consider. How long is it going to take you to get from your current house to the university?
Trains, yes. Trains are a really big thing to think about when you're choosing university, if you want to go home for any reason.
They're so expensive. So like moving to Surrey, and I live in Lincoln as well, so it was the same distance between Nottingham and Surrey. It would cost me like £70 to go home. On top of that, it would take like 5-6 hours. I would finish work at like 4:30. I would literally be straight into London Central and then getting on that train. So definitely think about the financial costs of it as well. Like your student loan might not stretch that far, or it might stretch that far, and definitely get like a rail card. I got mine included with my student bank, but even if you just pay for it for the 3 years of uni, the amount of money that I've saved, it's just definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still ingrained into me. Like, I'm 27 and I still have the rail card, and some of my friends don't have it. I'm like, you are crazy.
You need a rail card.
30% off. You're crazy. Get a rail card.
Like even like today, I was looking at a train to get from Nottingham to London, St Pancras. With my rail card, it was like £17, but without, it was like 30-40
£5,000.
Yeah,
It's so
I was
expensive.
like, oh my God.
It's actually crazy. I always think as well, when you're choosing, it completely dependent on how far away you want to be. But my sweet spot was close enough I could go home if something happened, but further enough away that I wouldn't come home every weekend with my washing, because I would have done. And I think I think you just have a bit of like self-reflection and think, how far do I actually want to be from home? Am I going to want to come home all the time? Have I got a connection still with my hometown? Don't put yourself in a position that you're going to have to travel home 6 hours every weekend if you know that you're going to want to. And if you are somebody that is a homebody and loves being at home, maybe again, it's not, have a think about that, because if you get stuck somewhere 6 hours away and you want to come home, it can just kind of put a bit of pressure on you in that time, and it's a big jump. So a lot of time it's people's living away from home for the first time. You probably not. Oh, and I didn't know how to cook, wash, clean, or anything.
I could do beans on toast, and that was about it.
My flatmates from first year still remember that I went to university with like a tin of stewed steak. Like in a tin. And for me, it's completely normal, but everyone was like, "That is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life." And I was
like cooked from home.
Yeah. So no, it was like you bought it from a shop, but they just hadn't seen it before, and I was like, "Oh, is this not like normal thing to eat?"
I don't think that's a normal thing.
I also didn't know how to cook chicken. I didn't realise you had to defrost it before you cooked that. But anyway, it's a story for a different. That's a story for another podcast. Good question, Tilly.
I wanted to press into that.
Maybe that's a podcast for another day.
Yeah.
Katy and her random tea.
I actually did that TikTok that I reflected on my first year meals, and it was literally just chicken and waffles.
Oh, it's way better than mine.
It was just chicken nuggets and waffles.
After this, I will have to show you some photos of the meals that I cooked for my friends. I literally rinsed me for it. Like I would have like prawns, broccoli, beans, pasta, and cheese, and just kind of, because anything that was left, I would just put it in a thing.
That's a wild
That's like they
combination.
all are tasted individually. So why would they not be good all together? And I'm not wasting anything, but they think it's absolutely.
That's
at
true.
that point, I just waste. I know it's not good, but at that point, like, sorry, it's wasted.
We're inviting you two round for tea then.
To be fair, I spent the summer before uni started at my grandma's, and she basically had this massive cookbook of all the things that she cooked. I was like, just teach me everything.
Yeah.
Teach me everything.
clever.
But she's the type where, say like she's putting some, I don't know, some seasoning in. I say, okay, how many teaspoons? No, just until you think it's right. I'm like, no, tell me the exact amount.
Here, Grandma.
yeah, tell me the exact amounts, please. But yeah, that was fun. If we move on to what happens when you've sent off that application.
I think that would be really good.
Yeah, cool. So when you've sent off that application, you'll hopefully receive a response from the university. We aim to respond within 14 days, but that may take longer depending on certain things. And like we said, some applications that may require you to have an interview, may require you to have a portfolio, so things like that. And then you will receive 3 types of offers from the universities. So there'll be a conditional offer, there'll be an unconditional offer, and there will be a rejection. So the unconditional offer is basically you're in. Whatever happens, you're in, and it's really cool. So you'll still need to look on that offer to see if there's anything that you need to maybe send off. So maybe you've already got certain grades, but they want to see maybe certificates of those. But if you got an unconditional offer, great, congratulations, you're in. Most people will get a conditional offer, and that is where you're in the university if you manage to get certain grades. Okay, so if, for example, the course says you need to get BBC to get onto the course, if you get BBC in your results, great, you'll be going to that university. And then rejection, I mean, it's kind of in the name. What happens when there's a rejection? So the least we say about that.
Your voice has gone so like solemn. It's like you go from really talking up here to like, we won't talk about rejection.
We don't talk about rejection. But rejection.
Turned into a horror podcast.
Can I just say something about the conditional offers? So you might have a conditional offer of like BBB or like the UCAS points equivalent, which I don't know what that would be, like maybe like 112 or something, like 120.
BBB is 120.
120, yeah. So you, like some universities saying we only accept BBB, whereas like I know at NTU for my course, it was 136 UCAS points, and the combination of all of my A-levels plus an EPQ, which is like a qualification you can get during your A-levels, equaled my UCAS points. So actually grade-wise, she didn't get the exact grade. So I needed AAB to get onto my course, and I ended up getting ABB. But because I did an EPQ, that gave me the extra UCAS points to get me onto my course. So definitely check with your university. Is it points or is it actual grades? Because some universities don't accept like extra qualifications that might be UCAS points.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it's still the case now, but I had to have a certain GCSE. I think I had to have a GCSE B or something like that
some
anyway.
courses you do have to get like a certain grade in maths, especially for like those sciencey courses as well. Like they might not require it as an A level, but they still require some sort of like decent maths grade.
So if you're a year 11 watching this, hey, you need to focus on your GCSEs. Come on.
So you've applied, you've put your options in, you've got your offers back. Then you need to tell UCAS what your preference is for the university. So you have to decide on where you actually want to go, and then you're going to take those next steps further. Is that right, Elliott? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yep. So there's a couple of things you're going to need to do. So you're going to have to choose your firm choice, and then choose your insurance choice, and then you decline the rest. So let me just go into that a bit more. So your firm choice is that first choice, basically. Well, as in, if I get the grades, this is the university I want to go to. Then you have your insurance choice, which is, if my first choice doesn't work out, if I don't manage to get into that, then this is my kind of backup, the insurance choice. And then all the other offers, so the 3 other offers you would have got back, they will all be declined. One thing to note is that if you've got an unconditional offer, if you accept that unconditional offer, then you won't have an insurance choice, because the idea is that regardless, you're going to be going on to that course. So that's kind of how it works with the choices. I always say make sure you get all your offers back first before you start to decide which one you're going to. And as well with the insurance choice, you need to make sure that the entry requirements for the insurance choice are lower than your firm choice.
Perfect. So also I just think one thing to note, Tilly, you was mentioning earlier about accommodation. So just making sure when you're choosing which one you want to put firm, the insurance and things like that, is making sure you see what universities' kind of regulations are for booking your accommodation and what kind of offer that you need. I think you were saying that when you were applying, there was a bit
Yeah,
had
like
to do a bit of
some
research.
open theirs like early,
Yeah.
whilst people are still applying. And then I think for that uni, like you didn't have to have an offer. But yeah, for like some unis, you have to have your offer before the accommodation. But like, don't worry, because there is a lot of accommodation. I know a lot of unis do have like backups and things like that. And as well as like, if you don't get onto like actual student halls, there is a lot of like private accommodation that work with the university, and you won't be the only person at your uni going there. So like you can have just as good as a uni experience on halls and in like private and things like that. So just consider what options there are and what you need to have if you're applying for the accommodation.
Definitely just do a bit of research to make sure you know what place you're at, what you need to go, because you wouldn't want to be applying for your dream university and you need to have your firm offer done and you need to get that all sorted before a certain date. So just kind of do a bit of research for that. And if you're unsure about anything, the university's admissions and applications team will be able to help with that. So you've applied, you've made the decision, you've got your offers.
Yes.
One thing I know that people would be really unsure about is student finance.
Yes.
So when do you need to apply for that? What offers do you need? What's the best time to do it? Elliott, I'll go to you and just say, give us the facts. Give us the LD, the lowdown.
The lowdown. The LD.
lowdown.
I like that. So the end of May will be the deadline for that student finance application to be in. So if you kind of have that as your put that in your calendar, the earlier you get it in, the better. But that's the deadline. You can still send in your application after that. The only problem with that is that it's no longer guaranteed that everything will be sorted for when you start university. So an example of something that could happen is that your first day you're going to enroll, the university says, "Oh, the tuition fee hasn't been paid," or you've got rent that's due on the Friday. "Oh, my student finance hasn't come in yet." That will be because you've missed that deadline. So that could potentially happen. But that's why I always say to try and get it in as quick as possible. It can be a kind of confusing process, but essentially with student finance you can get two loans. So you've got your tuition fee loan and you've got your maintenance loan as well. So the tuition fee loan will cover your whole tuition fee for that year, and then your maintenance loan will help to cover some of the costs in terms of like we talk about accommodation, rent and things like that. How it works is that you can apply. The way you can apply is that you can do a means tested, which is usually what people will go for, and that is essentially where the lower your household income is, the higher your loan will be. Okay, so let's say, for example, your household income is 25,000 or lower, you will get the highest amount of loan possible for you. You'll also, for NTU, you'd be entitled to our bursary that we offer as well. So
it's like automatically done as well. So they use student loan, like your student finance application, to work out whether you get the bursary. And then I get a letter for it in like November confirming that I'll get my 3 payments for my bursary. But I know it's not the same for all bursaries. I know some bursaries you have to apply for them and things like that. So just check on the university website. But I know mine's like automatically. I didn't even know I got it until my mum was like, "Oh, you've got a letter from the uni. You're getting like a bursary." And I was like, "Oh, nice. Get a bit of extra money."
Yeah. That's how I look at bursaries is that's money I don't have to pay back, which I love.
I think this is another benefit of, like you say, getting it kind of all organised early, so you can look and see if you are able to gain any much more income, if you need to look at gaining any more income.
Like summer jobs and things like that.
Summer jobs kind of like supplementing your maintenance loan as such, if it might not necessarily cover your car payments or where you might want to live or anything like that. It's really important to have a look at that early and get your ducks in a row.
Get the ducks in a row.
Ducks in a row.
Get the ducks in a row. And just be able to see, like, if you need to get a part-time job or anything like that. The earlier you can kind of look at all that, definitely the better. And you do not want to start freshers with no money.
That's rough. Also, the DSA, you apply for that through student finance as well. That's the Disabled Students Allowance. So things like dyslexia or any other needs, they'll either like actually give you like products to help you, like laptops and things like that, or they'll just give you like a cash bursary, which you don't have to pay back. So just go through the DSA if you have. You do have to have like a proper medical diagnosis to get anything like that. So just, if you need to go through that process, get it over and done with so you can start getting your DSA.
So we've spoken about everything leading up to the deadline, all the things to do on UCAS Hub. But what happens if you get to the 31st of January and the students are like, you know what, I actually kind of do want to go to university. I haven't been doing my personal statement or anything like that because I didn't think it was for me, but I've now decided it is for me, because people do. They do change their minds, and that is completely viable, and there is so many options out there. So, Elliott.
Yes.
This student, pretend I'm a student that has...
Hello, student.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for speaking to me today,
No
sir.
worries.
What happens? I've missed the deadline. What can I do now? I want to go to university in September.
Oh gosh, means you can't go to university.
Oh,
Early
the dreams are
joking.
crashed.
Yeah, so UCAS Extra is an opportunity for you to still apply for the courses that you are wanting to maybe go for, but you will, I believe, you will have to already applied beforehand, and then maybe you've decided to reject all your offers. So then that's an opportunity for you. But if you've actually missed the deadline completely, so it's the 1st of February and you're like, actually, I do want to go to university.
I've changed my mind. My life projection has changed. I would like to go to university.
Yes, it can happen.
It can, and that's completely fine.
Yeah, that's absolutely okay. So what you can do is you can still apply to university, and that's where you'll be able to contact the university, see if they've got any vacancies available. The only thing with that is, in terms of, if you already kind of know that you want to go to university, then we still try and say to go for that deadline, just because those vacancies can get taken up really quickly. So if you do know that you want to go to university, great, head for that deadline. If you're still not too sure, but then after you're like, actually, I do want to go to university, that's still okay. You can still apply to university. You can also, through clearing, that's going to be a good option for you in terms of finding out if there's still courses available. The reason why we have that kind of deadline is that if you miss that deadline, like we said, you can still apply to university. The only thing is that it's going to be a bit more difficult in terms of, is there availability on the course? Are there vacancies still available on the course? But yeah, you can still apply to university. You could, on results day, get some results and be like, actually, I actually want to go to university. And you can do that. And that will be through clearing.
Elliott,
yes.
Can you tell us what results day will look like if you have applied through UCAS, if you have decided that the university that you've been accepted isn't necessarily the choice for you and you want to have a look at the other options? Can you give us a bit of intel as to what results day looks like, and for people who may not know? So
you've gone to your college or sixth form and you've got your that little piece of paper that's going to tell you what your results are. That's great. You'll then hopefully you may get a notification via maybe email to say if you've been accepted onto your firm choice, so if you've got the grades to get onto that course or the UCAS points, or you've been accepted onto your insurance choice. Okay, and that's if you haven't managed to get the entry requirements for your firm choice, you'll enter into your insurance choice. If you haven't got the entry requirements for either your firm or insurance, you will be able to enter what is called clearing. Okay, and I think we've mentioned it a few times. We haven't talked about it kind of in depth. One thing I always say about clearing is that it's not a bad thing. Going through clearing is 100% not a bad thing. I've heard stories of people who have gone through clearing and it was the best decision that they've ever made. So clearing is essentially where you're able to contact universities and find out if they've got any vacancies available on their course. So you'll call them up, you'll speak to a clearing advisor. So I was a clearing advisor for this year, which was really cool. And you'll tell them what your grades are, what UCAS points you've got, and what course you're looking to maybe apply for. We will then have a look, see if there's any vacancies available. If your UCAS points hit the entry requirements, we'll be able to accept you onto the course. Okay. What's great about clearing is that, one, it's for people who maybe haven't got those firm or insurance choice, they can go through clearing. But also, let's go back to that person who's maybe thought, I actually don't want to go to university,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the day they've seen the results. Whoa, I've actually got some really good results.
Maybe
like,
I do want to go to university.
yeah. So maybe I want to go to university. That person can go through clearing and be able to apply for a course or sign up to a course that they want to go for. So clearing is a really good opportunity for people. So don't just think you've got your results back and you may think, oh no, it's not what I wanted. It may not be what you wanted, but there's still options out there for you.
When the night before my results day, I actually had like a backup list, and I had all of the clearing phone numbers, because they actually do release their clearing lines. Even though they don't know what places they've got, they release the phone numbers. So I had a note on my phone with backup unis, backup accommodation, even, because I even looked that far in advance, just in case it really didn't go to plan.
It's good to be prepared.
Just have like a backup list, and then I actually went back to that backup list anyway, even though I got into my phone, just to see, okay, what is available? Do I want to look somewhere else, or am I happy to stay? Because you have got time to change your mind. Like, it's not really set in stone until you've enrolled at that university. So
I think that's a great bit. I think that's a great bit of advice.
Agreed.
Actually, to have that backup list ready, because like we've mentioned a couple of times already today, is that it can be quite a stressful experience. So if we can find ways to relieve bits of stress, then that would be great. So having that backup list, like you said, having the numbers, that's a great one, because you don't want to spend time trying to find the number. Yeah. There is as well. So you can call. You can also, if you know what course you're wanting to do, you can go through the website as well. Applying through the website, but knowing that, one, you've got the numbers. Two, I know where to go on the website if I need to go via that route. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the day, you'll have everything ready for if you need to go down that process.
Yeah, manifest a non-stressful experience. The amount that you can prepare beforehand, even if you're fairly set you're going to get your results, fairly set on the places that you want to go, it's just good to have that backup just to make that morning as seamless as possible. Tilly, I know you mentioned earlier about you kind of had a different, a change of heart on results day and that sort of thing. Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
My results day was in COVID, so they had like changed our results and things like that. But I did like get into my firm, which was Trent. And then I actually got better than what I was expecting when I got my results back. So I did actually go through clearing, and I contacted quite a few of the universities to see if they had any places. They did have spaces, but I really wanted to do a placement year as part of my course. And like I mentioned before, like they can't guarantee a placement year unless it was like based on like my first year grades and if I could find one myself. But because I'd already been in like communication with NTU and I'd asked them loads of questions on like open days about the whole placement process, and I knew that that was guaranteed, I was like, that's the university for me then.
So we're going to do a little bit of a fun quick fire game now, just to kind of test our application knowledge and also just to get them, get them deep truths out. So if you had to tell one piece of advice to yourself, to your past self, you had to tell one piece of advice to your past self applying for university. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page. What would it be? Tilly, quick fire, no time to think.
Do some sort of work experience or volunteering because do some sort of work experience or volunteering because that is like the easiest way to talk about something. Like even that year 10 work experience, talk about that because it's still showing that you're applying your knowledge to the real world. So yeah, do some sort of work experience, like part-time jobs, whatever. Like it really does help to put that in your statement.
Don't wait till the last minute.
Great, to the point. Don't wait till the last minute.
That's it. Yeah.
Mine would be make sure you use all 5 of your options as universities that you would really want to go to. Mm-hmm. I only applied for one university and one course, which all worked out fine in the end, thankfully, which is why I'm here. Mm-hmm. However, I think really use them 5 options to the best of your capabilities to explore and all that sort of stuff, just so then it comes down to results day and you haven't got the results you want. You've got 4 other options that you're really knowledgeable about and really comfortable with if you do want to go to one of them universities. We've discussed absolutely everything there is to know about the university application process. I feel like I've learnt something. Tilly, have you learnt something?
Yeah, definitely. The ABC, I'm going to give that to my sister. Anybody who asked me, ABC your way through that personal statement, because I feel like that is a good like step-by-step way. It's literally like the easiest way of writing your statement. Like you do 5 paragraphs of ABCs, boom, there's your statement.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
Facts.
Elliott, have you learnt something today? You are our personal statement application expert, but Have you taken something away from today?
I've learned a lot from Tilly today. I can't lie.
I have learned a lot from Tilly today. I
Yeah.
feel like Tilly
She's got
should
this
have
brain.
her own podcast for the next
I
episode, and
know.
us two should just
Yeah.
sit off camera and just
Yeah.
smile and wave.
And do you know what's good about it is that because like both of us, it's been a while since we've been through this process. Me obviously longer, which we
Keep remind you of that. Yeah.
I can keep
A lot
reminded about that.
longer.
Yes. But it's good to kind of hear the side from you in terms of you're kind of still in it in a way in terms of like you're going on to do your masters now.
I'm checking my emails every day. Can they hurry up and can they just let me know what I'm doing?
Yeah, but that's what students would be going through when
Yeah.
they're applying for university, checking their emails, and there's that stress and thinking, oh, am I gonna hear back from them? What are they gonna say? So it's kind of good to get a fresh perspective of what it's kind of like the process.
It's so intense.
Yeah.
Like to think that you're applying for that, you're literally like, 18, 17.
Yeah.
You're like applying for something that you're going to do for the next like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
I think we've discussed everything there is to discuss, and we have come to the end of our podcast episode. So thank you so much. We really hope that you've learned something. We know we definitely all have here. If there's anything else that you'd like to know, head to ntu.ac.uk/applying to find an absolute array of resources and information and people from our team that you can speak to. But yeah, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to our amazing panel. Thank you, Elliott, and thank you, Tilly, for joining us today. And we shall see you very soon. And good luck with your university application.
Good luck, everybody.
Woo! Good luck.